Hi guys, welcome to Digitalks with Tracy. I am your host, Tracy Joy Hamplick. Today we're going to be talking about bounce rates. Yep, I have a prop with me again today. This is a tennis ball, and I'm using this tennis ball because I want to make sure that the explanation behind the word bounce rate is as simple as bouncing a tennis ball. So I have my reference cards with me, so when you see me looking down, I am just either reading a definition or making sure that whatever I'm explaining to you guys matches the information I got from my research. Okay, let's start with what is a bounce rate. I found this definition online and it says, bounce rate is the percentage of visitors who immediately navigate, or rather bounce, away from your website after viewing only one page without taking any action, or if the amount of time they spent on that one page is not enough for them to actually interact. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to repeat it. It is the percentage of visitors who visited your website and immediately bounced after a very short duration of time, and this is mostly on the one page that loaded. Yeah, so that's bounce rate. There are examples of what is considered a bounce. For example, if you closed the browser window, that's considered a bounce. If you went to a completely different website, that is considered a bounce. If you clicked the back button, maybe you found this website through Google search and you clicked to go back immediately, that is also considered a bounce. Now, you see this tennis ball, when you throw it on the ground, it immediately bounces back up. So technically, the ground is your website, this tennis ball is your visitor. So the act of it hitting the ground and immediately going up, that is considered a bounce. Same logic is used when it comes to websites. Now, it's also important to note that bounce rates will differ depending on two things. One is the type of the website, and the second thing is the source of the traffic, or rather where this visitor was coming from. Yeah? So for the first one, which is the type of website, I did some research and I was curious to see what types of websites have the highest bounce rate versus those with the lowest bounce rate. And this is what I found. Did you know that an e-commerce or a retail website has the lowest bounce rate? Actually, it ranges between 20 to 45%. I think this is because, one, when you visit an e-commerce website, you have the intention to shop. And shopping requires you to keep exploring, checking out different designs, and making up your mind is not that easy, especially when you're in the mindset of shopping. So that makes sense. While things like portals, blogs, and dictionaries have the highest bounce rate, which averages between 65 to 90%. Now, portal would be like if you're doing internet banking and you loaded the portal to log in. Let's say you've logged in, you've done whatever, and you've left without interacting with anything else, that could be considered a bounce. With dictionaries, you've already understood the definition of a word and you've left, that's a bounce. Then somewhere in the middle, we have our lead generation websites. This is basically a website where when you load it, the first thing you see is a form, and that is all you get to do with that page. These ones average between 30 to 55%. And then, interestingly enough, landing pages also have a very high bounce rate. Now, landing pages is a page that is dedicated to something specific. Maybe you have a campaign running and you didn't want people to go to your main website, so you created a one-page landing page. So if I go there and the only information there is about the campaign and I leave immediately, that's considered a bounce. So that is why it's the second type of website with the highest bounce rate, because technically if I'm not interested in your campaign, I will leave immediately. So yeah, it makes sense. Now let's look at the second reason why you could be getting a high bounce rate, and that is the source of traffic, or rather where your visitors are coming from. Did you know that display, or rather the banners you see, the display ads, have the highest bounce rate, and this averages around 56.5%. Now, display banners are, you know, those ads that pop up. Maybe you're reading an article and then there's an image that just shows up, and when you click on it, it takes you to a different page. That's considered as display. Now, the source of traffic that has the lowest bounce rate is email. Emails have the lowest bounce rate. The reason is because most of the time when you send someone an email, one, you already know them and they know you. Two, chances are what you sent in the email subject before they actually chose to click on the link already convinced them enough. So it makes sense that the bounce rate would be lower than, let's say, a banner that randomly popped up on a website. Social media has the second worst bounce rate, which is actually 54%. Then there's what they call direct traffic. So direct traffic would be if I went and immediately typed out your website link. I didn't get it through Google or anywhere else. I actually know it offhand. I went and typed it and immediately clicked to load. That's considered direct. Direct comes in at 49.9%. So that is the third on the list of worst to best. Direct traffic comes in as number 3. Now, why am I throwing these numbers around? A lot of brands, companies, businesses that have websites don't really consider what a bounce rate can do for them. Now, if I am a consumer and I know you have a website and I have a special need that I need you to meet on that website. If you're not meeting that need and I immediately leave, that's not a good thing for you as the business, especially if you're expecting me to convert into a paying client or a paying customer. So the reason I'm talking about bounce rates today is because I think it's one of those things that a lot of us are not tracking or monitoring, yet it's a very critical metric, or rather KPI, for your business. Now, if you do not have a website at the moment, it's probably the right time to do some research on different ways to improve your website experience so that you don't have a high bounce rate. I will explain it to you, but then I think it's key that we first understand what a bounce rate is, what counts as a bounce rate to these different platforms, and then also how the source of traffic to your website could also be leading to your high or low bounce rates. So in the next part of this video, I will give you the reasons why we bounce off your websites, and I'll also give you different tricks and hacks on how to get us, the users, the visitors, consumers, to bounce back.